Hi, I'm Mrs. Sarshik, and this is a video on two-digit multiplication. To do this, we're going to use the partial product method, or better called the PP method. And in doing this, we're going to be using the distributive property to break apart numbers. So you see here on the cover sheet, the single number 32 has been 32 has been broken apart by the hammer into a 30, the 3 having a value of 30 or 3 tenths, and the 2 being in the ones place having the value of 2. So let's look at an example of what we're talking about when we say the distributive property. 2 times 64. We're going to break apart this problem into two simpler problems. So the first thing I look at is, if I have the number, I'm going to write it vertically, 64 times 2. Right away, because I have two digits here in my multiplican, I'm going to put two different sets of parentheses. I look at the times 2, which is my main man. I'm looking for two groups of 64. So what I'm going to put here in the parentheses is 2 times, 2 times. Now, where we're going to start is we start from right, moving from right to left, and I'm looking at two groups of 4, 2 times 4. So in the first part here, I put 2 times 4, and we all know the product of 2 times 4 is an 8. And then the second part of our problem is 2 times, not a 6, but the 6, because it is in the tens place, is really a 60. So I'm looking for what the product of is 2 times 60. When you have a single-digit multiplier and you're looking at a double-digit multiplican with a 0, you look for the BF, the basic fact. So I know that 2 times 6 is 12, and then I tack on my 0. So now I have an addition problem. I'm adding two groups of 4 to two groups of 60. So my answer is 8, 2, 1. So what we know is that two groups of 64, if I had 2 bags of Jolly Ranchers and there were 64 in each bag, I would have a total of 128 Jolly Ranchers. So let's look at that if we were using base 10 blocks, which kind of gives you a picture view of what we just did. It's the same problem, 2 times 64. And like I said to you, what we're doing is, in the beginning, we're looking at, if I have 64 times 2, I'm looking for two groups of 4. And that's what I have represented here in the base 10 blocks. Two groups of 4, as you told me before, the product is 8, and the 8 goes there. Now, the second part of this problem is I'm looking at two groups of 60. So over here, remember that 6 is really not a plain 6, but it's in the tens place, so it's a 60. So here you see one group of 60 in base 10, 10, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And then another group, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. So using base 10 blocks, I'm adding 8 groups, 8 here, and I'm adding that to 120, and the sum is 128. 120 plus 8 is 128. So let's do another example. Let's say I have 45 times 6. Okay, you see it's a double digit by a single digit, and we're getting our hammer out, and I'm breaking apart the 45. So it's 2 digits, so I'm breaking that 45 into 2 pieces that I represent by putting the parentheses. Notice the parentheses, if I had extended that line, are always below the problem. So the first thing I look at is the ones column. I know I'm going to have 6. 6 is my king, my main man. I'm looking for 6 groups. First, I'm looking for 6 groups of 5, which we know the product of 6 times 5, the strategies for 5 is tap it out, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So the product is 30. And now I'm looking for 6 groups of not 4, but 40. So here I'm going to look for my basic fact, which is 6 and the 4. I know that 6 times 4 is, if I use my 4 strategy, it's a double-double. So if I break that, 2 6s are 12. So 12 plus 12 is 24. And then I add the 0. So now I have 2 add-ins here. I add, and the product of 45 times 6 is 270. Check. Let's try just one more. Let's say we're using 72 times 3. Okay, I want everybody to take a minute, hit the video on pause, and try and do this yourself, and then come back to see if your answer is correct. So I see 2 digits. I'm going to say 3 times 2, I have as a 6, and 3 times 70. I put in, look for the basic fact, which is a 21, and then I tack on my 0. I add the 2 numbers, 6, 1, and 2. So 3 groups of 72, the product is 216. So I hope that gives you an idea of multiplying using the distributive method or partial product method, what we call PP. Okay, that's all for now.